Magic in the Air, TV12's exclusive coverage of the 1992 Portland Rose Festival Air Show is brought to you in part by Toyota, reminding you to always buckle up. Do it for those who love you. By Safeway, nobody does it better for less. By U-Ban Coffee, made from 100% Colombian beans, the richest coffee in the world. And by Texaco, official sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team.
Hello, America.
Hello.
Loud. Very loud. But you have to put your ears in, you have to put your fingers in your ears because they go very loud.
Have you guys been to the air show before?
Yes.
Your old hands?
Yes,
is that right?
we are.
Okay, for the sake of somebody who hasn't come to the air show before, what is needed to come to the air show and have a good time?
You bring a wagon, your chairs, a blanket, sunscreen. Yep.
Rain gear?
Rain gear, yes, we have that also. Rain gear, yes.
There's a special excitement that you can experience only at an air show. The Portland Rose Festival Air Show is among the top 4 in the world as rated by the International Council of Air Shows. It has always attracted some of the best talent in the world of aviation, and 1992 is no exception. Well over 100,000 air show fans are expected here at Hillsboro, Oregon this weekend to witness this spectacle in person. But you just may have the best seat of all. Tonight, our camera crews will take you to the hidden corners of the air show that the public never sees. You'll marvel at the amazing machines, and you'll be introduced to some unforgettable characters. For the next 2 hours, there'll be magic in the air. Don't go away.
Everyone, it's a near perfect day here in Hillsboro, Oregon. We're under partly cloudy skies, very light winds, no crosswind fortunately, and cross our fingers, no rain.
We hope it doesn't rain, but if it does and the clouds come in, some of these expert pilots at the air show will know how to fly a beautiful routine for everybody at a lower altitude.
That's absolutely right, Rod. We want to welcome you to the 1992 U-Ban Coffee Rose Festival Air Show.
Hello, everyone. She's Sylvie Stinson.
And he's Rod Anders, and welcome to Magic in the Air 1992. This Rose Festival Air Show has been 12 months in the planning, and it has it all. Some of the best air show pilots in the world are here in Hillsboro today.
We've got something for everyone today. Now, if you like noise, Sean Tucker's going to be here tearing across the sky in an aggressive display of aerobatics that leaves the audiences stunned. And on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to marvel at the skill and the grace of Manfred at the controls of his high-tech sailplane as he performs a captivating and graceful aerial ballet high overhead.
And later in our show, you'll meet not one, but two wingwalkers, the daring Damsels, the world's only wingwalking duo, who hang upside down from the wing of a Stearman biplane, traveling 180 miles an hour.
And there's so much more. The Navy's Blue Angels will make their third Rose Festival Air Show appearance, and they brought along the Navy's precision parachute team, the U.S. Navy Leapfrogs.
And it is truly an international mix of performers here today, including some things that have never been seen in Portland before this weekend. Our old friend Jack McGowan is somewhere in the crowd with the details.
Thanks, Rod and Sylvia. You know, there's an unmistakable air of anticipation rippling through the crowd here at Hillsborough today. For the first time ever, the Russians are coming to Rose Festival. The Russian air show team glided into Portland earlier this week, complete with parachutists, pilots, all their support personnel. Now, these guys are well worth seeing all by themselves. Believe me, you've never seen high-performance jets do what the Russian Su-27s will do here this afternoon. Since the recent lifting of the Iron Curtain, once we had adversaries, now we have cohorts. Well, it seems that Americans are captivated by the former Soviet Union. This explains the crowd's positive reactions to our first performer. Now, he isn't Russian, but his airplane was made back in the USSR. The airplane is the Yak-50. And to date, it has been rarely seen in North America. Owner-pilot Bill Reesman of Portland owns the only two Yak-50s on the entire continent. And as he prepares to fly his challenging acrobatic routine, let's take a moment to meet Bill Reesman.
The Red Menace. The Workers' Paradise. The Soviet Union, born 1917, died 1991. But before it passed from the face of the planet, the USSR produced an incredible flying machine, a lasting legacy to the world of aviation. Now, this amazing aircraft has come to North America for the first time. Get ready. Here comes a Yak attack.
There's no mistaking this silhouette, 25 feet long with a 31-foot wingspan. It's the Soviet-built Yak-50. There are only two Yak-50s in North America. Both are owned by Bill Reesman of Portland, Oregon. Although it looks like a World War II fighter, the Yak-50 was built during the mid-70s by the government of the Soviet Union with one specific goal in mind.
The Yak-50 was designed and built in 1975 specifically to win the World International Championships, and they succeeded in that purpose the following year, 1976. It's designed to take off, go straight up, wrap your intestines around your neck, and come straight back down and land. It's an exceptional aircraft because it's designed to do just aerobatics.
With its Evchenko 9-cylinder radial, Bill's Yak-50 makes an instant impression on airshow audiences.
I've stood in the crowd at a lot of air shows. I've noticed that what the crowd really likes is a unique aircraft. They like noise, they like smoke, and they like speed.
As a result of its enormous power and vertical penetration capabilities, Bill Reesman puts his Yak-50 through some maneuvers that you will not see in other aircraft.
Yeah, one of the things we're really excited about is something we've called the Russian roulette. And it's a maneuver that, to the best of our knowledge, no other aircraft will do. What it does visually is that I pull the aircraft up into a vertical climb. I do a very rapid half roll. At that point, we push the airplane over. The aircraft goes over on its end, and while it's doing that, it's rotating, and it goes into one of the flattest inverted spins you've ever seen. Now, what's unusual about it is that it is an ascending inverted spin. It is actually spinning and going up several hundred feet. And we're just absolutely amazed at the beauty of the maneuver. The second maneuver is something that we have named the Yakety Yak Tumble. In this particular maneuver, I pull the aircraft straight up vertically, and I then feed full right stick forward and full left rudder. The aircraft tumbles over end, and usually I get about 1 3/4 tumbles on the aircraft before I have to pull the power off and bring it out. I think what's spectacular and different about this is that the size of this aircraft going end over end in a cartwheel is what makes it so distinct.
Although it's a stunning performer, the Yak was not built for pilot comfort.
One of the disadvantages of flying the Yak is the fact that the seat is mounted too upright, and it's tougher to fight the G-forces. And because of the heavier mass of the aircraft and the power of the aircraft, you can really maintain speed with this aircraft, which means that you're in for much longer, prolonged periods of pulling Gs. And when you get to be a 50-year-old pilot, it's not as much fun pulling Gs as it used to be when I was in my 20s.
Nor did the Russians take much care on the finishing details. When Reesman took delivery of his Soviet aircraft, he found them full of gouges, dents, and creases, the rough metal skin sloppily painted in gray and red. He ordered the paint to be ground down to the bare metal and hand-filled with epoxy. Then a mere bright jet black paint was used for what Bill admits is a somewhat sinister look.
I love black paint. Whose crazy idea was this?
In most other respects, this Yak-50 is a stock version of the Soviet aerobatic aircraft, right down to the Cyrillic characters on the gauges.
We left all the Russian instrumentation in the aircraft. I actually fly the aircraft in kilometers and in pressures of atmospheric pressures as indicated on the Russian gauges. But we did take out the metric altimeter and replace that with U.S. altimeter in feet, because that was a little tough to handle.
Reesman's interest in flying began in his early teens and climaxed the day he earned his wings to fly the Air Force's F-100. He flew high-performance fighters for the Air Force and the National Guard for 20 years, logging over 4,000 hours in military fighter aircraft and 320 combat missions over Vietnam.
I think it's hilarious that I spent 20 years in the Air Force training how to shoot down Soviet aircraft, and now I own and fly 2 of them. Is the world changing now, or what?
This is Reesman's first year on the airshow circuit. He makes his way across country in a flying armada of matching red and black aircraft.
Yeah, we got a 1946 Beechcraft D-18S. Bless her heart, she's a beautiful old airplane, and we painted her up just like the Yaks, pure black with the big red cowlings on it. She's got those beautiful Pratt & Whitney engines just growling as she comes down the runway, and we've all fallen in love with her. She's a real sweetheart airplane. And then, of course, since she's kind of herding the Yaks around the country in the air shows, we had to get some nose art on her. So we had an artist depict the Yak Lady, which is the nose art on the Beech 18. And we're not really sure what a Yak herder would look like. But if you look at the Yak Lady on the nose of our Beech 18, that's our concept of what a Yak herder looks like. We think we're right.
I gotta say, I think she's uglier than a mud fence.
I gotta say, that's a pretty good-looking leg there, though, Sylvia.
All right, I think your knees look better than hers.
Huh? Well, we'll check them out later.
Yeah, okay, that's a deal. She probably looks better from a distance altogether. Word. Let's give Bill Reesman a chance to saddle up his Yak, and we'll take a look at him in the air.
All right.
Gentlemen, from your right, the Yak Attack, Tim Austin, a DC-3 and Learjet captain. The 2 Yak-50s being flown by Mr. Pat McNamee, a 747 first officer, Mr. Bill Reesman from NCCGA right here in Portland, Oregon. This is Bill's opening solo maneuver that he calls the Russian Roulette. Around and around he goes, and where it stops the loaded chamber is nobody knows.
I think the reason I love airshow performing so well is it's the closest thing I've found to fighter flying. And fighter flying is a very intense occupation. I'm a very intense person, and airshow flying requires much of the same discipline that's required in military flying, and I like that. I like the discipline, I like the intensity, I like having the aircraft on the edge of the envelope all the time, and the constant attention. When I get through with an air show act, I am absolutely drained and exhausted from the intensity that I've put into it. And that's the exact same feeling that I used to have when I came down from a fighter mission. And I enjoy that. I like that a lot.
Bill Reesman now winding up the Yak-50 once again. That big 400 horsepower Ivchenko radial. Winding away as he makes that turnaround, pulling about 6 1/2 Gs in the level turnaround. Snapping around the top there, and that's the maneuver that Bill calls the avalanche. Watch now as it continues the turn, this time rolling as he's turning for the rolling 360-degree turnaround. You'll note, as he is rolling and continuing to roll, he is describing a 360-degree circle in the sky. The view from inside the cockpit is absolutely incredible during this maneuver and requires a tremendous amount of control coordination to complete the rolling 360-degree turn. Completing another fabulous performance, the Yak Attack.
You know, one of the wonderful things about air shows is that the public can get a first-hand look at some of these fantastic military aircraft. But the story of the air show is more than just facts and figures about hardware. And that's why our Magic in the Air camera crews have crisscrossed the nation since 1989 to bring you the personal stories of the pilots and the performers themselves. And we'll take a close-up look at some of them a little bit later on. But right now, Lars Larson files a report on how a very special group of Navy performers spent their time in the Rose City.
You're closer. You can go ahead and spiral down. We're going to have to go this way a little bit further toward the T and then come down.
It's my family to me.
It's going to look nice. We'll come in with the smoke, stay around the other guy's smoke. We'll make your turns coming into the T.
Everybody jumps in the SEAL teams. Some like it more than others.
He's going to pull a smoke.
Very elite.
Everybody's square on what they're going to do.
SEAL teams, they run a myriad of missions anywhere from maritime conditions to land warfare to jumping out of planes, air warfare, if you will.
The Navy calls these men SEALs. That means they operate in the sea, in the air, or on the land. SEALs are a tough, elite group.
Teach you to ignore what you're feeling, like your outside environment, so you can continue your job. Whether you're in snow or you're in water freezing, you're not really worried about your comfort zone. You're more concerned about your job.
From the SEAL team, the Navy picks an even more elite group of paratroopers for its Leapfrogs group.
It's like some of the best group of guys that you'll ever want to be with. It's hard to describe how elite. Everybody thinks the same. We work the same because we're really close to each other. You watch how people walk, and just even at a distance in the dark, you can tell who that is just by the way they're walking, because you're used to being around these guys so much.
A Navy man with the unlikely name of Dave Jones, by the way, we didn't ask him about his locker, says the Leapfrogs get a good reception nearly every place they go.
The patriotism has been incredible. As far as I couldn't thank the American public enough for the amount of goodwill we got when we were overseas.
Leapfrog Pete Wright grew up in San Diego, a Navy town. He says he never thought he'd join the Navy, but he did 10 years ago. Pete worked his way into the SEALs and from there to a 2-year assignment with the Leapfrogs, traveling to air shows and demonstrations as goodwill ambassadors for the Navy.
We go out, we like to mingle with the local populace, meet people, tell them a little bit about what we do, why we're here, tell them about the show.
We like to go out and have a good time, meet the local women, dance, party, have a good time, stay out of trouble as best as possible.
But most of the time, the team practices for its show.
All right, go ahead and get the door.
The Leapfrogs give about 60 performances every year in front of about 4 million spectators.
You know, I've always been intrigued by hang gliders, and I think that the appeal has to do with flying. I mean, really flying like a bird. It's one of man's oldest dreams, and now it's possible to come very close to fulfilling it. By the way, I want to thank our friend Russell Roger of Oregon Airwave for spending a day with our crew down at Pacific City on the beautiful Oregon coast.
How high up were you?
We went up about 3,000 feet, Jack.
What was it like? Are you going to try soloing?
Yeah, I may try that, you know, but you do kind of get that feeling of, you know, like you think of, you're flying like a bird. Although I got to tell you, the seagulls looked at us kind of funny.
Speaking of that, were you a little bit nervous being up so high, being supported by so little?
Yeah, there wasn't much around there, but hey, the birds are light too, you know, so why not? Give it a try.
I will.
You'll love it.
Next time. Coming up, Wingwalkers, Blue Angels, and the unbelievable maneuvers of the Russian Su-27s.
But right now, we're going to introduce you to a pilot who flies with such energy that his airplane must be rebuilt every year due to the stresses that it endures. Now, that plane started out as a Pitts S2S, but it's been highly modified. In fact, it's been renamed the Randolph Challenger, and the pilot is Sean Tucker. You won't soon forget his performance.
An airshow performer is nothing if not enthusiastic about himself, his work, and his world. That describes Sean D. Tucker.
No, we do hugs. It's better. That's better. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We do hugs.
We do hugs.
Tucker's warm and friendly manner is exceeded only by his enthusiasm. A man who lives life at full throttle.
Oh, I have a new maneuver you haven't seen yet. Oh, I haven't told you about this one. This one at the end of last year.
I think to best describe Sean D. Tucker is that I value and appreciate life and the pursuit thereof. And I'm not talking just monetarily or spiritually, I'm talking it as a whole. And I don't give up.
Describe Sean.
Always trying to do the best at whatever he's doing, to ski the fastest, jump the biggest jump, and get the best out of, or the most out of whatever he's doing.
Sean Tucker was born into an Irish family, one of 7 children. He grew up in Southern California.
I started flying 1970 because of, I had begun skydiving in 1969, and I had a friend of mine had a tragic accident and died. And I was too afraid to do that anymore, so I started flying because I was drawn to the sky.
Airplanes led to aerobatics, and aerobatics to what is today, at age 40, a full-time avocation.
I just received corporate sponsorship by Randolph Engineering Sunglasses, which gave me my shot to I'm now a full-time airshow performer.
Tucker has taken a leave of absence from the helicopter crop dusting company that he owns in the Salinas Valley. He can now focus on airshow flying. A large part of that effort involves keeping himself physically fit.
I rebuild my airplane every winter, and so I'm off for about 3 months. And it hurts a great deal when I first start back into aerobatic flying because my body's not used to the G-forces that are put upon it, and my timing's off, and I get nauseous.
Even with physical conditioning, Tucker wears special gear to tolerate the bone-crushing force with which he flies.
What happens is the seatbelts start rubbing on your hip bones, and so this helps it out a little bit. And this keeps my spine aligned. It's just the motorcyclists might call it a kidney belt, but it keeps my back muscles warm and my spine aligned when I'm pulling G's.
Tucker also wears a fireproof Nomex flight suit, gloves, a helmet, and a parachute. It is Sean's partner and crew chief, Tom Digert, charged with worrying about the flight from the firewall forward.
Okay, this is a IO 540 D4A5, they call it. It's 540 cubic inches. And when it came from the factory, it was 260 horsepower. And through modifications with pistons, valve timing, cold air induction, we've got about 348 horsepower out of it right now.
Because of the relentless hammering the airplane endures during an air show, the engine mounts have been reinforced and a 3-blade prop installed to spread out gyroscopic forces that frequently crack the crankshaft. To excel as he does at airshow flying, Sean D. Tucker practices in his Pitts biplane every day. He'll push the Pitts to 8.5 G's positive, 7.5 negative.
And that's just because of my style of flying. I like to have a crisp, aggressive style. I don't necessarily feel you have to pull that many G's to do a good show. I just like pulling that many G's because that's how I fly.
Sean downs a quart of water prior to each performance and frequently goes through a meditative process on the ground ahead of time, walking through each maneuver in his mind.
I think there's something magical that we have in the sky, and I consider it art, albeit it's transitory. It's not there for very long, but it does provoke emotion. It does turn people on, and I consider it a tremendous experience to be involved with that.
So what do you want to work on today? Hey, there you go.
Outside of flying, it is his family that means most to Sean. He and his wife Colleen have 2 children, 10-year-old Eric and 7-year-old Tara. The family home is under construction in California's Gavilan Mountains between Salinas and Monterey. To most of the outside world, this amazing aerobatic performer is known as Sean D. Tucker. Why do we have a D in our name?
My middle name's Doherty, named after a gentleman who loaned my father money so he could finish college. God bless Mr. Doherty.
And much as his father gratefully remembered friends, so too Sean credits his friends for the fortunes he has enjoyed.
No man is an island, and you can't succeed in anything, I believe, without friends. And
among the friends he most credits for giving him a helping hand is veteran airshow performer Wayne Handley.
This guy taught me everything I don't know and do know, and I'm gonna know. I like him a lot.
For Sean D. Tucker, the sky is the limit. Already the winner of the 1988 National Aerobatic Championships in the advanced category, he hopes to resume competitive aerobatics in 1993. In the meantime, his aim is high, to be the best in the airshow business.
I think it's the most special thing I've ever been blessed to do in my life. I firmly believe in everything I'm doing out there on the airshow circuit in terms of sharing, provoking emotion in people, capturing the sky and sharing my love of flying with the audience. It excites me to wake up in the morning and keep striving for the goals that I've set for myself. And the main goal is to fly the best of my ability and give 110%.
And here he is, Sean D. Tucker. Welcome to Hillsboro.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'm having a wonderful time here.
Great. It's nice to have you. You know, you jam as many maneuvers into a 12-minute routine as anybody I've ever seen. How many?
I don't count them, actually. I have a 12-minute routine. I do many, many gyrations, and I'm having a great time doing them.
How do you just remember what you're doing or following a map? How do you know what to do?
My dance is choreographed, and the way we do it is through a language, and I have it on a card on the airplane, and it's called an Oresti card.
It's a language only aerobatic pilots understand, and the maps look like this one in the cockpit of Sean's airplane. The Oresti system is considered by many to be the single most valuable contribution to the sport of aerobatics by an individual, in this case Jose Oresti of Spain. A level straight line would indicate normal flight in wings level attitude. A line that forms a circle would indicate a normal loop. And finally, if the pilot wanted to perform a spin, the symbolism would look something like this. There are over 5,000 symbols contained in the Oresti dictionary. The system was updated in recent years by the Federation Aeronautic International to make it simpler to combine symbols. Okay, Sean, we've seen it on paper. Let's go watch it in the sky.
You got a deal.
Nothing is a problem for Sean Tucker. And that's why it's so great to have him around air shows. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Gordon Bowman-Jones.
Thank you very much, Bob Singleton. Ladies and gentlemen, look directly in front of you. Sean D. Tucker converting one of those wildest rolling Lomshevoks into a precision torque roll. From one of the most uncontrolled maneuvers to one of the most controlled maneuvers. Riding back down through his own smoke, falling backwards to about 90 miles per hour, the airplane swaps ends and the tip smoke comes on. If you were on the inside of the airplane with Sean during this maneuver, you would hear him call the name of the maneuver as he goes through the top. Watch now as the nose comes down and inside 1/2 loop. On the top, a snap roll, and Sean cries from the cockpit, "Hooey!" for the hooey loop. Continuing around now, all the way down to the outside and pushing. Sean points the nose of the Randolph Challenger hard against the sky, pulls the airplane up into the hammerhead turnaround. 1 1/4 rolls up, full to the top, hard left rudder over the top, and 3/4 of a roll on the downline to realign himself with airshow center, and puts together a dazzling combination of maneuvers. On the upline, the full snap on the upline, 1/4 up. At the top, an outside shoulder roll around, and then unbelievably a cartwheel for a second hammerhead. But ladies and gentlemen, if you have your video cameras ready, get the raindrops off the outside of the lens, because this is the maneuver that Sean D. Tucker calls the Randolph slider. Watch this airplane go. All the way to a full stop. Try that in your 172. Sean D. Tucker, you're looking great up there today. A little damp, but still looking great.
Portland Rose Festival Airshow fans, thank you so much for coming on out here. Let me give you a little bit of weather report what we got going on. I see some blue skies coming. I think we're ready for an air show. So let me turn off the smoke, tighten up my seatbelt, and we'll do some more Air Show 92.
Thank you, Sean D. Tucker. Watch as the aircraft passes in front of you from left to right. At the same time, the airplane will be tumbling backwards to the direction of flight. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Sean D. Tucker centrifuge. Like a ride on the inside of a tidal wave. The nose comes up now, and Sean is descending, diving at that #1 ribbon.
Are you ready for this?
No. Watch as he approaches the ribbon and transitions the aircraft into right knife edge flight. Up to knife edge. Through the first ribbon, across to left knife edge, down the runway to 190 miles an hour, through the second, 2 inverted, 1, 2, 3, the incredible triple Randolph Challenger and the Mr. Sean D. Tucker.
Beautiful job.
Thanks very much.
How'd your head stay in that helmet?
I owe it all to Channel 12. Without Channel 12, it wouldn't have been possible. All that good critiquing and the good crew and everything else. So thank you, Channel 12.
What do you call some of that stuff?
The flight crew bringing the aircraft by in the landing or dirty configuration with gear and flaps down for a typical approach to a landing. At Show Center, they execute a maximum performance climb out, again demonstrating the extra margin of safety and power of these Federal Express aircraft.
When you send a package on a cargo plane, like the Federal Express DC-10, you expect it to be handled, well, like a piece of cargo. But what would it be like to be a passenger on a cargo plane? Lars Larson recently traveled on an airline that made steerage-class travel on a steamer seem luxurious by comparison.
Hi, I'm your talking ticket.
Oh.
Do you have baggage?
Oh, yes.
Hi, I'm your talking ticket. Do you have baggage?
I don't have any baggage.
Airlines in America brag about their low prices, their on-time service, and the quality of their meals. But in the former Soviet Union, the airline that once held the monopoly on air travel doesn't hesitate to toss customers in with the cargo.
I'm 30,000 feet over the North Pacific Ocean approaching Russia on board an Aeroflot cargo plane. That's a Russian cargo plane. It's a cargo plane carrying urgently needed medical supplies to Russia, what we used to call the Soviet Union. But that's not all this plane carries, not just cargo and medical supplies, but paying passengers as well.
Most of the people on board this flight are Russians, returning to their homes in Magadan, Siberia, in the northeast corner of Russia. The exceptions are 66-year-old Jim Welker and his wife Lola. They come from Springfield, Oregon.
Well, they said chartered cargo, but I didn't figure the seats would be like this.
Well, you have to have a tough bottom and not be worried about being in a confined space. And go to the restroom before you leave. But other than that, why, it gets you there. That's the main thing.
Traveling as cargo takes some ingenuity. You should bring your earplugs if you want to get some shut-eye and be able to hear anything at the other end. Cargo nets can come in handy. If you're small, bring a parent with a lap you can stretch out across. Up on the flight deck, Captain Andre and crew don't mind visitors who don't stay for too long. The plane that now brings Americans to Russia was originally built by the Soviet Union as a warplane to bomb places like America.
Yeah, if we got a good meal, glass of water, all the conveniences.
A decent airplane meal surprises first-time cargo passengers until they find out that Aeroflot buys its food service from Alaska Airlines in Anchorage. Passengers drink bottled water, but it's not Perrier. Aeroflot provides no in-flight magazine, so bring your own. And don't worry about the no smoking light. It doesn't exist on this plane, and one crew member even smoked during takeoff. Some American airlines let you listen to the pilot. Aeroflot lets you watch the gauges. Flashing red warning lights might scare passengers, but only if you can read Russian. And one reassuring thing, you aren't going to lose your luggage when you can see it just a few feet away.
Would you recommend it?
It depends on the person, whether they can take it or not.
Would you fly this way again?
I guess I'll have to get home.
Flying with cargo not only means a cheaper ticket price, it means you've had a real adventure you can tell all your friends about. Reporting from Khabarovsk in Russia, I'm Lars Larson. Now back for more Magic in the Air with the 1992 Rose Festival Air Show.
Well, thank you, Lars. You know, it looks kind of cold back there in Russia. Maybe that's why they like that vodka, you know, to keep them warm.
I understand now.
We'll see Lars in what, about 3 weeks?
By boat?
By boat, yeah.
No doubt. Well, as thrilling as engine-driven airplanes are to watch as they surge and stall their way through an air show routine, perhaps the greatest exhibit of skill and certainly of grace and elegance comes when watching a glider perform.
This one we're going to watch has a 44-foot wingspan that gives the aircraft lots of lift. In fact, it can glide 33 miles forward for every 1 mile of altitude. And the wings are tapered. They're very flexible. In fact, if you'll watch closely, you'll see them flex during flight.
He's come halfway around the world through careers as a salesman, pipe organ builder, and cabinet maker to find his niche soaring in the sky. He's glider king Manfred Radius, born in Graz, Austria.
In 1944, at that time it was part of German territory. Hitler had annexed it, you know, so I'm born actually as a German citizen, you know. But it's Austria. But I was less than a year old when we left, and I grew up on the outskirts of Hamburg.
Out riding his bike near the airport one day, Radius decided to spend 10 marks and go for a glider ride.
It was a lady pilot who took me up for the first time, and I was impressed. I loved it. It was the first time I ever flew. I had never flown before in any type of aircraft. I was 17 years old at that time, you know.
Later, at age 25, Radius immigrated to America, bringing with him his love for gliding.
I came from Hamburg and I went to Toronto with the intention to learn the English language, not to stay in Canada. I wanted to stay about 2 years in Canada and then go back to Germany, where I worked as a salesman. However, I got stuck in Canada. I did not get homesick. I never ever got homesick. Now I'm 22 years in Canada, living all the time in Toronto. 2 years ago, I became a Canadian citizen and I lost my German citizenship. And I guess I'm going to stay over here.
Now, at age 48, Radius regards fellow airshow performers as his family. He lives alone, traveling much of the year.
I'm single, never married, no children, and available.
And is definitely into improving his lot in life, starting with improving himself. On Monday nights, it's a class in Japanese.
Anada wa donata desu ka? Tanaka-san wa nihonjin desu. I'm very optimistic that I will be flying next year at an airshow in Japan. And I think if I know some of the basics of Japanese, it will help me just to get along there.
On Tuesday nights, it's a class in ballroom dancing.
Sometimes there are occasions at a party where I would like to dance, but since I cannot dance, you know, I can't ask the lady to dance with me, you know, because I would make a fool out of myself. She would not enjoy it, you know.
Finally, because he says he's sick and tired of eating a can of fish with rye bread 4 or 5 times a week, on Wednesday evenings, Radius has enrolled himself in a cooking class.
I would like to be able just to cook a few simple dishes, you know, nothing gourmet, you know, just very basic, you know, a couple of them. I would be happy if I just could cook 4 different dishes, you know.
While there's still a little work to be done on his Japanese, his ballroom dancing, and his cooking, in many areas, Manfred Radius does better than most. On the ski hill, Radius is an accomplished amateur racer, and in the summertime, he pursues skydiving.
I started 20 years ago in the sport of skydiving. I have 775 jumps, and I just ordered brand new equipment.
It is airborne where Manfred Radius is most at home now, earning his living as an airshow pilot in the silent sport of soaring. His only company, the rush of the wind on the sleek white fiberglass fuselage of his sailplane.
The greatest concentration is really required when I do my inverted ribbon cut, because as I'm approaching inverted, in a shallow inverted dive, I'm getting slower actually. As my inverted dive gets shallower, the glider actually decelerates because the dive is very shallow at the end. And I have to be very careful that I'm not getting too slow at that point. Now I cannot look at the airspeed indicator. If I'm low, anywhere below 100 feet or even 200 feet, I would not take my eyes away from the ground.
Radius must use his ears to gauge if the glider has enough speed and take incredible aim to cut the ribbon.
I have to aim well. My glider is only about 3 feet and 9 inches tall, as opposed to some other aircraft which are, another 3-4 feet taller. So it's a small target. I have to aim quite well, and usually it is a V-tail which catches that ribbon. Usually I'm just slightly higher and the V-tail catches and breaks the ribbon.
Manfred's glider is an H-101 Salto built in West Germany. It weighs only 416 pounds with a 44-foot wingspan.
It is more maneuverable than most gliders are. It is stronger than most gliders are, and it is certified as a fully aerobatic glider.
Because it is stressed to 7 Gs positive and 5 negative, Manfred can perform maneuvers not normally done in a glider, including outside loops, inside and outside snap rolls, and tail slides. His Salto is equipped with a V-tail, trailing edge dive brakes, and a drogue chute for use in landing.
I do not want to be just a glider performer. The reason why I have a pretty good reputation is the fact that I do take it seriously. I do a professional job. I try to improve on my act year after year, and I work very hard at it. All right, it's done.
This is one glad guy when a performance is finished, and he's just about to be glad again here in Hillsboro. By the way, Manfred has taken his sailplane to an astounding altitude of 35,000 feet over Pikes Peak in Colorado and managed to stay aloft 8 hours and 45 minutes. He's just about set to go. Let's turn the camera and watch Manfred Radius.
Manfred Radius, one of the finest aerobatic sailplane pilots in the world today. Super job, Manfred.
Now you can own a piece of the magic. Meet the stars and relive the highlights of the Portland Rose Festival air shows on VHS cassettes made directly from the master tapes. 4 Magic in the Air tapes are available covering the years 1989 through 1992. Order tapes individually for $19.95 each. Order all 4 tapes, just $59.95. Send your check or money order to Magic, Post Office Box 3401, Portland, Oregon 97208.
Now, one good reason to come to the air show is that you can get up close and personal, get a hands-on look at these planes. Right behind me, it's an F-15 Eagle, and it has 2 engines that both produce some 25,000 pounds of thrust each. If that doesn't mean much to you, just remember that it's enough power to allow this plane to accelerate while climbing straight up. In fact, the F-15 holds a world's record for climbing to 65,616 feet in just 2 minutes, 2.94 seconds. Now, this plane also has video cameras built in, so an accurate record of the missions can be made. Those video cameras are right in front of the pilot. And that means while spectators on the ground got a great view of the airplanes today, the airplanes also got an eyeful of the crowd.
On your right, you will see a McDonnell Douglas F-15C Eagle, the world's top air superiority fighter. All the maneuvers you will see today were designed to showcase the F-15's superior turning performance, high thrust, and low-speed handling characteristics.
The display you see on the screen is the heads-up display. It is the same display that the pilot sees when he looks forward through the windshield. It is displaying all of the essential information he needs to fly his F-15 Eagle, so he can monitor the aircraft's performance without taking his eyes away from the rapidly changing scene unfolding in front of him. The numbers across the top of the display indicate the F-15's compass heading. The scale on the far right shows the aircraft's altitude, while the airspeed scrolls out on the far left. The center of the screen displays the artificial horizon. The sounds you are hearing are that of the pilot, straining with the force of the additional G's as he heels his jet over in punishingly tight turns at high speed. By grunting and forcing blood back into his brain, he counters the G forces that could cause him to lose consciousness while performing these high-speed maneuvers.
You know, air shows remain one of the most popular spectator sports in the United States. Only baseball attracts more ticket-purchasing fans.
An air show means great action and high drama, and the fans here at the Portland Rose Festival Air Show have certainly not been disappointed, and there is a lot more to come.
A number of this year's performers are returning for a second and third appearance at Hillsborough. This show marks the third appearance of the Blue Angels and of a lady fast becoming a legend in her own time, Joann Osterud.
And this time she's flying a brand new airplane called the Ultimate. Right now, though, it's time to reintroduce you to some old friends. Barney, Chuck, and Brian of Team America. Sylvia and the Magic in the Air camera crew last visited them in 1990.
Chuck Lisher, Barney Register, and Brian Sanders. They are Team America. They fly the Italian-made Marchetti, a military aircraft currently serving 25 governments of the world. Team America flies the Marchetti minus the guns and rocket launchers, but with the addition of oil tanks, shooting a steady stream of smoke through all 50 maneuvers of their performance. In formation, the Marchettis inch within 3 feet of one another, traveling at speeds nearing 300 miles an hour. In a typical performance, team members pull about 5 Gs.
You get over 3, 4, 5, you're up there. And for the time that you're losing the blood out of your head, it's being sucked out. There are problems psychologically and physiologically. So that makes it, well, I guess we lose maybe a quart of water in a show, in 15 minutes. You're drenched on a warm day. Oh, yeah.
The total flight time each Team America airman has logged varies remarkably, ranging from just over 1,500 hours to one member with well over 15,000 hours. Chuck, Brian, and Barney share a common love of flying, but on the ground, they're as different as night and day.
I'm probably the all-American kid to compare to them. You know, I'm very conservative, and maybe that's what it takes for a lead. Maybe they're happy with that. I don't know, but I'm the one that generally goes home and reads a book.
We look at each other, we communicate. That's the bottom line. If we have a beef, we stand nose to nose and toe to toe, and we voice it. And sometimes it gets heated.
Oh, we all get along. It'd be hard to spend that much time with the group if you weren't getting along. You know, I almost spend more time with them than I do my wife in the summertime. Barney's a lot of fun. I like him a lot. He's great in the bar. Chuck's a really nice guy, enthusiastic, hardworking.
Chuck Lisher, the 44-year-old team leader of Team America, lives on Cameron Air Park near Sacramento. He and wife Susie have two sons and his and hers airplanes. His is the Marchetti, parked in the hangar. Hers is the Cherokee 140, out soaking up the sun. Formerly a gas compression engineer, Chuck is the originator of Team America, in charge today of the music, of media relations, and he's the voice of Team America, known for the word now, his cue to the team to start a maneuver. The youngest member of the team, 30-year-old Brian Sanders, makes his home east of L.A., near Chino, California. He and wife Sue are expecting their first child in August.
I hope it's a boy. My wife's worried. She said if it's a boy, she'll probably like airplanes and she'll never see it.
Brian and the Sanders family are involved in aircraft restoration, perhaps best known for their Hawker Sea Fury named Dreadnought of Reno Air Racing fame. It was Brian who rebuilt two of Team America's Marchettis after they were shipped to the U.S. in crates from the Belgian Congo. The planes were originally the property of the Zaire Air Force. The third member of Team America, regarded as the most flamboyant of the bunch, is Barney Register, a mere kid in college when flying caught his eye.
I walked into the student union in college, saw a poster that said, fly your own jet, picture of an airplane, pretty girl, gold wings, and I thought when I got the wings I'd get the girl. Didn't work that way.
Today, Barney lives in a houseboat on the Sacramento River. Separated from his wife, he is the father of 3 children. A pilot by profession, Barney has spent most of his career crop dusting. He also owns a computer business geared to the needs of the crop dusting industry. As a team, Chuck, Brian, and Barney were recently voted Airshow Performer of the Year. To date, Team America has been blessed with an unblemished record. No accidents, no incidents. Team members do wear parachutes, but admit they're too close to the ground and traveling too fast for them to do much good. So every move is calculated to avoid trouble.
Airshow performers have to think through every potentiality and every possibility before you ever go out there, because Murphy's still alive, you know. It will happen.
In 6 years on the airshow circuit, over 9 million spectators have seen Team America perform, awing at the precision, thrilling to the patriotism.
The concept is national pride, patriotism, mom and apple pie. It is a pleasant, we want to put a smile on your face kind of an endeavor.
And here they are, Team America. Or at least we have 2 of the team here. I guess Brian is having a sandwich right now. Barney, how are you?
Just great. It's great to be back in Portland again. It seems like there's always some showers around when we come, though.
Yeah, but you can't have rainbows without the rain.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you about Brian, just to update his situation now. The baby's been born, right?
That's right, and I think little Chad is driving his dad crazy.
It is a boy, and he loves to fly.
Absolutely. He's already been to air shows.
And he's got a few hours logged, no doubt?
No doubt about it.
You know, Brian mentioned you're great in the bar. Is that still true, Barney?
Well, I've tried to tone that down a little bit, but there is a certain amount of public relations that goes along with this job.
Still living on the river in a houseboat?
Live in a houseboat on the river.
Still crop dusting?
As little as I can get by with.
We're talking full-time air shows then?
Yeah, full-time air shows, that's right. I do a little crop dusting in the spring to supplement the income, but not a full-time deal.
And the leader of the band is still Chuck, is that right?
Yeah, the leader, you could call him that. He's a guy up front.
Well, how you been, Chuck?
We've been great.
Okay, you're still living on Cameron Park.
Sure are. Yep.
Susie's fine.
Susie's fine. She's here. She came to Portland. It's just wonderful. Yeah.
Tell me about the team. Update us here. Where you've been the past 2 years.
Yeah, my gosh, we've been to, Bermuda, which is out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And we went to Puerto Rico here about 3 weeks ago, or whatever that was.
Haven't added any guns or rocket launchers to the airplane yet.
Well, I'll tell you, Haiti was right there, Dominican Republic. And we've added a couple of little minor sponsors, and we're right now talking to some real good sponsors for maybe 93. And my gosh, we were talking to New Zealand and Japan and Russia right now. It's just going absolutely fantastic.
That sounds wonderful. It's like sky's the limit. Well, let's stop talking about it and let you guys get in the air, and we'll take a look.
Great.
It'll be fun to see you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, with the call of smoke on now, high and to the right, your Team America. On now.
Top hat. Rolling.
One of the more difficult things in flying formation aerobatics is getting these aircraft back into formation. Let's listen for the call as they join back into that V.
Deck 3, 1, 2, 3.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a big Portland round of applause for your Team America. All right, and to introduce the stealth to you, Major Wes Cockman.
Let's tell you a little bit about the airplane. It was built by Lockheed Skunk Works in Burbank, California. It is a single-seat aircraft. There are no two-seat versions made, so we can't give anybody any rides today. We currently have 55 aircraft in the wing. The aircraft is powered by two GE F404 engines, the same engines that the F-18s have, except we do not have afterburner in the F-117. The flight control system is all fly-by-wire. It's computer-controlled. It's the same system that's in the F-16. If we didn't have the flight controls, computer-controlled, the aircraft would be totally uncontrollable in pitch, roll, and yaw for you aviation buffs.
The F-16 has been part of the United States Air Force for more than a decade, since first joining the operational inventory back in 1979, and has been on the job around the world ever since. Assigned to Air Combat Command and to other Air Force units in Europe, the Pacific, our Air Guard and Reserve Forces, as well as the Air Forces of many allied nations. The pilot for today's demonstration is Major Mike Lepper from Victorville, California. Our aircraft today is configured for air-to-air combat and weighs in at about 23,000 pounds. That's some 12,000 less than its ground attack weight, which usually includes bombs, missiles, and extra fuel.
One of the features of an air show is, of course, the flight of the Blue Angels.
The Blue Angels usually don't return so often to the same air show, but this is the third Blue Angels appearance in the 5-year history of the Portland Rose Festival Air Show.
And if you enjoy watching the Blue Angels perform, you are in good company. Millions of Americans have seen these magnificent blue and gold airplanes perform since the Angels first began flying back in 1946.
These airplanes have been modified with smoke generators, but don't let the airplane's good looks fool you, because these aircraft can be made combat ready within hours simply by replacing the smoke with cannons.
And keep your eye on airplane number 7. Flying co-pilot in the back seat today is airshow performer Sean Tucker.
I'm Happy Puppy. God bless America. I'm a taxpayer and I love it.
The aircraft you are watching perform here this afternoon is the McDonnell Douglas F-18. It is the first naval jet designated as both a fighter and attack aircraft. This rugged tactical jet has earned the unparalleled reputation for dependability, reliability, and weapon accuracy. For Navy and Marine pilots who must land their aircraft on the small and sometimes pitching deck of an aircraft carrier at sea, slow-speed flight is just as important as high-speed flight. In order to demonstrate the dirty slow-speed handling characteristics of these McDonnell Douglas F-18s, Captain Wooldridge has called for the extension of the landing gear and tailhooks. From the left, at less than 250 miles per hour, the Diamond Dirty Flat Pass. Aircraft pilots and enthusiasts who understand the difficult transition from the cruise to the landing configuration will appreciate this next maneuver demonstrated by our two solo pilots. To the right, Lieutenant Foley and Captain Switzer have established a mirror image formation, but look closely, for both aircraft are in the carrier landing configuration as they approach for a maneuver we call the Fortis. To the right, the Diamond is setting up for their next maneuver, the Diamond Aileron Roll. Approaching center point, all four pilots on signal from Captain Wooldridge will roll their aircraft 360 degrees simultaneously. The very precise Diamond Aileron Roll. Our two solo pilots are approaching once again, this time to demonstrate the inverted flight capability of these F-18s. Approaching inverted from the left and right, they will roll their aircraft 360 degrees and cross over center point. The opposing inverted to inverted roll. The four Diamond pilots are now stacked down and aft on a 45-degree bearing line to establish a right echelon formation. From the right, at 350 miles per hour, the Blue Angel Echelon Parade. In order to demonstrate the tactical roll rate of these F-18 Hornets, our two solo pilots crossing over center point will execute a series of maximum stick deflection horizontal rolls. Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron represents a time-honored tradition of pride, professionalism, and excellence spanning 81 years of naval aviation. The 1992 team takes a great deal of pride in saluting those brave men and women who served our country during World War II, many of whom made the ultimate sacrifice in defense of their country. From the right, the Blue Angels, 1992.
What a ride.
All right.
Best ride of my life.
I think so.
Yeah, oh, no, thank you, John. It was great. I'll tell you what, your G's are a lot tougher to take than mine.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. Yours are more sustained, and I was almost gone a couple times.
Yeah.
He said, can you believe how screwed up that Navy pilot is? Because Sean's sitting in there screaming at the top of his lungs, bitchin'! This is bitchin'!
Of a lifetime. Yeah. Ride of a lifetime.
Before I die, I just want to touch him again. Whoa! Whoa! The energy! Did you see it?
The ride of a lifetime. No. And now this tape will see whether or not I passed out. And let's put it this way. It was very black. Very, very black.
Later in this segment, the return of Joann Osterud and then Bill Warren and the Daring Damsels. The Damsels are sisters. One is a model and the other is a police officer who quit her hobby of skydiving because, get this, it was too scary. Right now, the Russians are coming to Portland. Coming? They're already here.
We're just a few minutes away, Larry, from the Russian jumpers. Again, we're playing tag here with the weather a little bit today for our skydivers. If you look above you there, folks, you will see the Beech 18 aircraft, which contains the Russian parachute team.
3 away.
The Russian National Acrobatic Parachute Team, silver medal champions of the world in team acrobatics. Each member of this team is a master jumper of Russia.
Bob, our first 3 jumpers are Yuri Graznov, Boris Busky, Vladimir Bugamarov. And those 3 will create a 3-jumper stack, kind of a triplane, if you will. They're forming up right now, high above the skies in Hillsboro, Oregon.
Larry, they've transformed now into that side-by-side. And look, folks, the guy in the middle stretches his legs out, and the person on each side of them wraps their leg around his. You could say the guy in the middle is being torn in 2 different directions. But watch as they hold this. You can really get a good view of this because they continue to hold it and hold it and hold it. Look at how they're doing that. Side by side with the 3 jumpers. And you can break that off anytime now, fellows. Thank you. And they turn around and just fly those chutes right to the ground like an airplane, tippy-toe right onto the grass, nothing to it.
Beautifully done. Give them a big hand. Ladies and gentlemen, the Russian National Acrobatic Parachute Team. And you can see why they're world champions. They are so good at what they do. Let's give them a big hand.
The Russians are here in force today, and not just the parachute team and a few pilots, because they also came with a trade delegation to talk business with Oregon's timber and electronics industry representatives.
And the Russians are also planning to help commemorate the 55th anniversary of the first transpolar flight when the Russians landed in Vancouver, Washington in 1937.
Why don't we join Lars Larson right now as he chats with the Russian Airshow team.
The aircraft hangars at Hillsboro Airport echoed with the sounds of another language. Friday, Saturday, and today, the Russian parachute team had come to town.
We'll take part in demo jumps during Airshow, and we'll build triple side-by-side. And also we'll build 4-way stack with our open canopies. One of our guys jumped with Russian flag.
With a Russian flag?
Yeah.
From his booth?
Yeah, with our historical Russian flag.
32-year-old Anatoly Zirov is the only member of the Russian team that speaks much English at all. He comes from Krasnodar, near the Black Sea. He is one of 8 jumpers who came to Hillsboro for this weekend show. Anatoly and his teammates had some time to explore Portland.
Rose Garden, fall, I don't know, exactly the name of the place we were and we will be, but we enjoyed Portland.
Anatoly's been to the United States 3 times before. On one visit, he served as the opening event in the Goodwill Games, parachuting into a stadium with a Russian flag attached to his leg. In a few days, Anatoly goes home to his wife and 2 daughters. He missed one daughter's birthday just to take part in this weekend's air show. Anatoly says he likes the way Americans live. He enjoys coming here, but he says he always wants to go home.
And try to keep everything I'll see in my heart.
Well, Larry lining up on the runway here, preparing for takeoff. The official performance today of the Sukhoi Su-27 aircraft from Russia.
In the lead fighter is Colonel Vladimir Bazov and Lieutenant Colonel Valery Bashanov. In number 2, Major Sergei Granachev and Major Alexander Likhom.
The Su-27 NATO reporting name is Flankers, so you will often hear these airplanes referred to as the Flankers. The development of the aircraft began in 1969 under the leadership of Pavel Sukhoi, and the prototype was flown on the 20th of May 1977 by Vladimir Ilyushin. Development was not easy. 2 pilots lost their lives before major airframe redesign resulted in production configuration of the Su-27.
Now coming down in a landing configuration, you're going to see the Russian version of a touch and go. And then we will go into a 1-craft demonstration. Now, we should mention that they're capable of holding 10 air-to-air missiles and a front-mounted 30-millimeter gun. These are, of course, the aircraft that they're visiting today are not armed in any way, but they are capable of having such.
And the 4-point hesitation roll. Watch for the 360-degree turn. Very tight.
Making history today, ladies and gentlemen. It is the first time a Russian fighter of any type, especially this kind, has been seen over the skies of Oregon and southwestern Washington. Let's give him a big wave as he goes by and let him know that we welcome him and that we are very pleased to see the friendship building between our 2 countries. The Sukhoi 27.
Our next performer is a very small person with a big talent. Joann Osterud, who last appeared at Portland's air show in 1990, weighs in at 100 pounds and stands 5 feet 3 inches. But her air show performance makes a large impression on the crowd. Sylvia Stinson visited with Joann this spring and files this updated pilot briefing.
Centuries ago, Norsemen sailed the high seas with iron-fisted determination and daring. Their yen for adventure remains among Norwegians born in this century. Meet Joann Osterud. Raised in the Pacific Northwest, it wasn't so much the sea as the sky that caught her eye.
2 years old, I can remember that young wanting to fly.
In the years since, Joann Osterud has flown more hours, earned more ratings, and won more world records in aviation than others have dared attempt.
We were never told we couldn't accomplish something, or you can't do this because you are lacking in some way.
It became a long road to the airport, however, with stops along the way at Robbinswold in the Olympics to attend summer Girl Scout camps, and at Reed College in Portland to earn a degree and learn how to operate a nuclear reactor.
I was going to do something like that. I was going to run a nuclear reactor somewhere, but I always knew I wanted to fly.
After graduating from Reed with honors, Osterud was admitted to MIT. By then, though, she realized flying had her by the heartstrings.
So I gave it all up and went into flying. And I couldn't be happier. The personal satisfaction, the people, the places, the things you get to see, the things you get to do, it's all worth it.
Ironically, Joann's career in flying began in our backyard.
My first airplane ride was at Hillsborough. My first lesson was at Hillsborough. I was with a lady flight instructor.
And in record time, Joann acquired every rating in airplanes and helicopters and began what is now 22 years in the airshow industry. Along the way, Osterud became only the 6th woman in history hired by a commercial airline.
I'm co-pilot on a 727 now, and it's been fun.
Joann Osterud flies today for United Airlines out of Los Angeles.
Hydraulic quantity.
Pre-normal.
Ground interconnect.
Closed.
Parking brake.
Set pressure.
Start lever.
Cut-offs.
Oxygen.
Left.
Joann commutes between Los Angeles International and her home up the coast at Oxnard. Divorced, she lives alone with Gus, a 21-year-old cat requiring enormous care, 2 hamsters named Harry and Al, a huge library of books, and an untold number of cactus plants, most relegated to a greenhouse Joann built in the backyard.
You want a Euphorbia grandicornis?
Sure, Joann.
You can take it home. It needs lots of bright sun.
Joann justifies her hobby, explaining cactus thrive on her neglect. It is from her home Joann runs her hectic airshow schedule.
This is 2 days' worth of mail.
Helping her is assistant Terry Dockweiler.
She's crew chief, too. She can change oil, she can change tail wheels. She didn't know she was going to get her fingernails dirty when she started working with me.
It is at nearby Camarillo Airport where Joann hangars her royal blue and gold biplane.
I think I fell in love with its looks. I like the way it looks. It's long and skinny, and you sit way, way back from the nose of the airplane.
But when Joann is seated in her ultimate airplane, her nose is only inches from the instrument panel in order for her feet to reach the rudder pedals. Joann is only 5'3" tall and weighs a mere 100 pounds. The seat has been modified and cushions added to bring her as far forward as possible. Finally, she straps on a parachute, putting even more bulk behind her.
I wear a double harness. First of all, I've got the harness that comes over my lap, over my shoulders, and then connects to the floor. Then, just in case you should catch your sleeve on this one and undo it, there's another belt on top of that. This is really neat because it's got a regular old cargo ratchet. So as you're flying, if you come a little bit loose, you just give it another notch. Works great.
Joann's airplane contains a number of safety items, including a 10-pound bottle of halon with nozzles for fire suppression. And if ever trapped inside her airplane, this former Girl Scout is prepared for that.
Let's say you're against the dirt or something. There's no way you can punch out of that. You cannot, no human being can punch through plexiglass. So, I have a diving knife. That's my canopy breaker. And with that, you can break the canopy and get it looks kind of lethal. It's a part of my survival gear anyway. I'm one of those persons that believes if you've got all this safety stuff, you'll never need it.
Joann's ability to monitor her 325-horse Charger is unique to most aerobatic planes. Instead of heavy, space-consuming dials, engine function and fuel management information appears in digital form. It is in this ultimate aircraft Joann captured her second world record last summer, hanging upside down in inverted flight for 4 hours, 38 minutes, over a distance of 658 miles through some of Canada's most forbidding mountains. Joann won her first world record in 1989, performing a gut-wrenching 208 consecutive outside loops.
If I'd had any idea what was involved, I would have never started. Never, ever, ever. But once you'd started, then it was, you had to finish. I wasn't going to give up.
Determined, yes. A daredevil, not at all.
I've got this big gold stripe down the side of the airplane and a big yellow stripe down my back. It's true. I'm a chicken, and I hope I stay that way. The people that get themselves in trouble kind of quit thinking, and they continue beyond a point at which the outcome is assured. And I just hope I don't want to embarrass myself by doing something foolish at an air show. That's the last thing I would ever want to do. And so I'll never be a great name like an Art Scholl or something like that. But I'm going to be out there just as long.
Already 22 years in the airshow industry, Osterud's unquenchable thirst for adventure and achievement has won over the hearts of millions of airshow goers in the U.S. and Canada and entered her name in the annals of aviation. Maybe airshow contemporary Manfred Radius said it best.
Well, Joann Osterud is a very, very ambitious pilot. And she will go into history of one of the most remarkable pilots of our time.
Now appearing for the third time at the Portland Rose Festival Air Show, here is Joann Osterud.
Watch on Joann's takeoff. The airplane leaves the runway and immediately goes 1, 2 to inverted, 3, and 4. A 4-point roll on takeoff and then a full 360-degree rotation of the aircraft in an entry maneuver Joann calls the Budley. High above us now, Joann twisting and turning through the sky. The airshow smoke system, of course, trailing from the airplane. Rolling the airplane back into the show area. Now she pushes down and starts to gain a whole lot of airspeed, getting ready for her next maneuver. And watch what happens here as she pulls back on the stick, points the airplane straight up into the sky. Starts to turn, rotating the airplane, and eventually 325 horsepower. Won't take it any higher, but watch what happens. It just hangs there, and the propellers, the engine starts to turn the airplane, falling backwards through the smoke, and the torque roll still turning. Finally, the weight of the engine pulls the nose down, and she looks for her recovery spot. Beautiful sky we've got there right now. Quarter turn, throws the airplane out of control. There's the Lamshavak, folks, where the airplane falls. Tail over nose and nose over tail, and finally Joann finds a spot to recover and pulls the airplane out. Okay, once again, pulls back on the stick. Airplane goes inverted. Joann looking through the propeller now at that ribbon, lining up with it on the show line, and bingo, there she goes.
Rod, we have seen so many thrilling acts here today. I'm really not sure I could name my favorite. Possibly the Blue Angels, but Sean Tucker was amazing. I didn't know you could do that with a plane.
It's hard to believe, isn't it, when you see it happen? You're absolutely right, Jack. It would be a tough choice, but just wait until you see our next act. I think that the wing walking is always the highlight of the air show, and we have one of the most unique wing walking acts available. They're from Medford, Oregon, and this Portland Rose Festival air show appearance marks their return to air show performing after a 4-year absence. Here's Bill Warren and the Daring Damsels.
Today, man is able to walk in outer space. He can even walk on the moon. But he took his first step the day he tried to walk on a wing. A few wing walkers can still be seen up there on a wing and a prayer. Meet Bill Warren and the Daring Damsels.
We're the only wing walking duo. We're the only wing walking duo in the whole world.
The Daring Damsels are sisters from Southern Oregon who admit the way they spend weekends wing walking is different.
It's a little, it keeps the heart going. Definitely does.
While the Damsels dare to walk on the wing, piloting their plane is veteran airshow performer Bill Warren.
I'm really excited to be back doing something that I know that I was designed to do from birth.
45-year-old Bill Warren of Medford, Oregon, regards this Rose Festival air show as a comeback following a low point in his life. Warren and the Daring Damsels used to be among the most successful acts on the air show circuit until the collapse of Warren's marriage grounded the act 4 years ago.
My wife was one of the Daring Damsels, and she and I got a divorce, and I was burned out. And I sold the airplane and a lot of the equipment, and I just
took a few years for me. I needed to do some healing.
It's been a struggle, but Bill Warren believes he was put on this planet to be a pilot. Born in Port Angeles, Washington, he began his takeoff role on a tricycle. Three-point landings mastered, it was on to the family tractor, and flying was soon to follow.
When I was 5 years old, they had an air show there at the Port Angeles airport, and my dad took me to the air show. And I remember watching that air show with this great fascination. And I still remember what it felt like. It's like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I told my dad I wanted to be an air show pilot.
At age 15, Warren washed and waxed airplanes to finance his dream.
I soloed when I was 16, and got a private when I was 17, and a commercial when I was 18. And flew my first air show when I was 19.
His career included crop dusting, then a long tenure with Medford Mercy Flights.
Most of aeromedical transportation, the book was written by Mercy Flights, and I got to be part of that.
From air ambulance, Warren began stunt flying and movie making with friend and fellow flyer Brian Landsberg. A succession of feature films followed. And today, Bill Warren is pursuing his latest adventure, piloting the daring Damsels. His wingwalkers are sisters, Susan and Jane Parker. Susan is a former model, married, living in Medford, Oregon. Her ambition is to become a commercial helicopter pilot.
If I could be in the air 24 hours a day, I would do it. And I love the flying aspect of it.
When she's not learning to fly or walking on a wing, Susan helps mold the future of aspiring young models at an agency in Medford.
We train and develop local children and men and women who want to get into the modeling or acting, theatrical, singing, dancing fields, anything that's performing for the most part, and basically get them ready for a large market. We send a lot of our kids overseas who work in Paris and Tokyo, Greece, New York, Los Angeles, all over the world.
When not prodding young starlets to stand up straight, Susan can be found breaking her back weightlifting.
It's so important. I mean, it's life or death for us. If we are in a position where, falling means being able to pull our weight back up onto that wing, you better believe that we're going to have the confidence to be able to do it. So we spend a lot of time in the weight room.
What does husband Rob think about his wife wingwalking?
Well, it's funny. I've tried to really think about it, and when I think about it, it terrifies me. But I think it's my own terror. I couldn't do it myself.
Walking the wing along with Susan is her sister, Jane, who ironically gave up skydiving because it scared her, but says of wingwalking, it's not frightening, it's fun.
It's a total rush, and I think that's why Susan and I enjoy it so much. It's a complete and total rush.
And if walking on a wing isn't excitement enough, Jane also works at night patrolling Eugene City streets as a reserve police officer.
You can be sitting in that car for 7 hours, and in 5 minutes you get a total adrenaline dump.
For Jane, it can be a very long day in law enforcement. Starting early in the afternoon, she poses as a plainclothes police officer on the prowl for shoplifters in a large Eugene department store.
What we do there is try to stop shortage for the store. That includes catching shoplifters, bad checks, stolen credit cards. That's the really exciting part of it.
Her goal? Simply to be happy.
I don't think I'm there yet. This law enforcement is really been a great experience for me, and I hope that I can continue with it. But I see a relationship in the future that will complete my happiness.
While Susan and Jane Parker are walking widely different career paths, when they walk on the wing, they walk together.
Every single time we make a move, it's exactly the same. Everything's in the same sequence, the same order, and it's all timed.
They have little FM receivers in their pockets. And so I transmit the commands, the cadences to them for each thing that they do, so that it happens in unison.
A good many hours are spent practicing on the wing with the plane sitting safely on the ground. Once airborne, despite the obvious danger, Susan and Jane do not wear parachutes.
Because of the altitude that we perform at, a chute would do us absolutely no good.
The Damsels do wear helmets, soft helmets.
Keeps the wind out of the ears, keeps the hair back. It's more aerodynamic. We do wear gloves, of course, that give us more grip as we're working around on the wing. And the shoes are very similar to like a wrestling shoe. They're very close. They fit to the foot. They weigh nothing, but they have a really great grip on the bottom.
While Susan and Jane add an attractive element to the act, according to pilot Bill Warren, the Damsels also add drag.
When it comes to flying the Daring Damsel Act, what it means is take everything you learned in flying school and forget it. At least everything you learned about coordination.
If the wingwalkers cause an asymmetrical drag situation, Warren may actually be making a left turn and have right aileron in to keep the airplane from rolling to one of the wingwalkers. It becomes imperative that he carefully coordinate the movement of his daring damsels.
If everybody just started running all over that airplane, it could create an unsafe situation.
The daring damsels perform in wind speeds from 90 to 180 miles per hour aboard a highly modified Stearman powered by a 450-horse Pratt & Whitney. Of the many maneuvers that the damsels do, the most daring would have to be sitting on top of the world.
Definitely sitting on top of the world, because it involves us, Susan and I, doing a knee hang, and then Bill turning the plane upside down, flying inverted with us sitting on top of the wing. And it is our finale, and it's the biggest crowd pleaser of them all, and definitely the most difficult for us to perform.
As they work on a wing and a prayer, Bill Warren and the daring damsels never wonder if what they do is worth the risks they take.
I think there's a lot of people that are dying on their living room couches right in front of their TV set. I don't think it's very safe to try to stay alive longer by not doing the things that you're meant to do. So I'm back in the air show business because I think it's the safest thing for me to be doing. Maybe I'll get killed doing it, and if I do, that's okay, because I believe that it'll probably be time. I don't want to die here on this couch watching that television.
And here he is, alive and well, about to do what he was meant to do. Bill Warren, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
I'm at an air show. It's my favorite place to be.
I guess that's true, and it is also your comeback. It's just moments away. How are you feeling about it?
Well, you know, for the last 4 years, I've thought about, well, what's it going to be like first time I get back on the flight line? And so the word I want to use is vivid. The emotions that are going through my body and what it feels like is vivid. And it's what it feels like to be alive.
All right.
I'm really glad to be here.
All right. Well, let's take a look now as Bill Warren does what he said he was born and meant to do. And that's it for the 1992 Rose Festival Air Show. Rod, Jack, it's been fun.
It sure has.
You know, with all the talent and excitement we've seen, it's hard to believe it's gone by so quickly.
Did you know that the Portland Rose Festival Air Show is actually ranked among the top air shows in the world? And of course, the displays of skill and daring and courage that we've seen today, I think, really justifies that ranking, don't you?
Oh, absolutely,
I
Rod.
agree. And get set, next year's air show promises to be bigger and better than ever.
And that is all the magic in the air that we have for you here today. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you again next year.